Hello and welcome to Steve's Backyard Bonsai. Today I actually want to work on my Rose of Sharon, but before I do, I want to show you this tree a little bit closer. This is my Texas Ebony. All right, if you remember correctly, if you watch my channel, sometime over the summer, I did a ring bark ground layer and put this little plastic collar around. This is filled with sphagnum moss and fines, bonsai soil fines, which I topped off with regular bonsai soil. I fully expected the tree to lose a lot of branches, lose a lot of leaves, and maybe even die. But as you can see, it didn't die. It's got this new late season growth. I think the yellowing has to do with the fact that it's in the greenhouse. It's between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius, about, 50 to 60 degrees at night with the heat on. I'm going to be bringing this in the house. I'm not going to be able to maintain those temperatures here for much longer. But the tree is doing well. The cut is about here on the tree, and I'm expecting, with this nice foliage that's still on the tree, that roots have developed. I probably won't be looking at this until midsummer next, and then I will either cover it back up, or if it's far enough along, I might actually prune away the old roots and plant this as a new tree. I wish this was clear, and maybe next time I'll use a clear piece of plastic so that I can see what's going on. I could always wrap it in aluminum foil. But this is my experiment. It seems to be working, and we'll see what happens with this tree. I think it has the potential to be a really nice bonsai. This tree was a gift from a work associate, and it's really one of the only, quote, bonsai trees that I own that was actually raised as a bonsai, and then I took it over. I haven't killed it, which is great, and we'll just see what happens. Normally, these grow very quickly and very long. I did, over the summer, even after I did this, one did grow very long from here, and I pruned it away. But it's doing well, and we'll just see how it goes. All right, on to my Rose of Sharon. Here is my Rose of Sharon. It had 2 blooms on it. What's left of that are 2 seed pods, which I allowed to stay on here. The tree lost its leaves about 3 weeks ago. I helped it with the last few leaves, and I just touched them and they fell off. But this tree got some nice twigs to it this season, and I'm hoping it continues doing that. This was the front that I had chosen before, just when these 2 become visible as 2 separate branches and not one hiding the other. That's the front that I wanted. I was hoping this would develop more to catch up with this. What I think I'm going to do is stunt this a little bit and just selectively prune 1 or 2 of these branches so that they subdivide. But here we go with the pruning. I'll zoom in on everything that I'm doing. All right, what I'm going for with this tree is obviously an upright form with very, very fine twigging, if possible. And I'm achieving that in certain areas. So let's start out with looking this over from the proposed front. I have a long internode here, but here's 2 close ones. And here's 2 fairly close ones. So if I cut this back here, I'm deleting all the growth that I created this year, and it wasn't really much. But what I really want to have happen is have it branch out further down here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut it right here. Leaving a little for dieback. I've got a pruning stub on this side. It never created a branch, but I got a little branch happening there and a little branch happening here. I'm going to leave those two, and hopefully I'll get some branching here, and those will extend. Moving to the other side of the tree, this one here, I said I was going to stunt it back a little bit to try and even it out with this one. I have some wire scarring here, and what I said about this tree is that I am no longer going to wire it. I learned my lesson with that. This tree scars badly and very quickly. It's got a smooth bark, so the wire scars that you see up here and over here are going to be on this tree for a while. So I will not be wiring this tree anymore. Here we've got the start of two branches and then one that goes straight up. These two go out, so I'm going to take this straight up part off. This one, here's a pruning stub here. I've got the possibility that this branch will subdivide here or move in a different direction. So I'm going to take it off here. This is coming out at a nice location. I'm going to let that grow. This is coming out at a nice location. I'm going to let that grow. I've got a bud way down here, and I would like this to grow more out. So, and there's another bud back here very close. So I think I'm going to cut this back to here and see what happens. This one I'm going to cut the tip off. I'm going to cut the tip off of this and cut the tip off of this. One of the things I'm learning about this tree, and I do want it to branch out more, but I also want it to bloom more. And as you can see from these two seed pods, there's flowers from the tips of the newest growth. And if I can just have that happening all around, and one of the things I said was that I had pruned this in July the first time, and I only got one bloom. So this year I pruned it in June, and I got two. I'm thinking I'm going to prune this tree, or at least defoliate this tree at the end of April. At the end of May, or the middle of May, because it will have leafed out by then, and it leaves out everywhere. It leaves out on the stems. Having that early summer pruning will allow it to then extend even more, and hopefully I'll get some more flowers. The flowers are just beautiful. I'm not ready to cut these off. I probably will before the end of this pruning session. All right, let's go to this branch. It's got some nice movement here. I would like it to grow a little more in this area, and there's a bud here or a bud here. I think I'm going to cut it here and allow this bud to take off there, and maybe this one as well. This branch, I like how it pulls away from this branch, even though it starts out going in the same direction. I wouldn't say it mirrors this at all, because I'm having this one grow out. Let me take this pruning stub off. I want to shorten this one There's a bud back here, so I can fill out that area, and one down here, so maybe I'll get another branch in that direction. Take that off. Take the tip off of this. And since this is growing in toward the tree, let me just clean up that pruning stub. I don't want it growing in toward the tree. I have some buds right down here. I'm going to take it down to here. And maybe something will grow there. Right from that bud right there. All right, let's look at this branch now. It's got a bunch of buds right here. I probably want one of them. This one comes out and goes up. This one flows better. I'm going to take this one off. And this one off. I could have some interference happening here, so I'm going to shorten this to there, clean up an old stub. This one I have a bud right here and two close internodes, so I'm going to cut it there and hope this goes up in this direction and moves away from this. This taller branch, you can see it's subdivided down here, which is nice. Close internodes right to here. They get longer at this point. So I think I'm gonna take it to here. I probably should go shorter. Yeah, let me take it to here. And hopefully I'll get a branch out this way. I'll move to this branch in a second. It's part of the same branch. But I want to first look at this branch. I like this coming out here, or do I? It would be nice if it was a little further up. But in this case, I've got two pretty well developed sub-branches. You know, this tree is well into its secondary branching, and in some cases it's tertiary branching. I think I'm going to take this one off, and this one behind it also. That cleans this up so that it's just dividing into two here. All right, here's where it's interfering with this branch. So do I want this at all? I do. But I want it to grow more in this direction toward me here, and there's a bud right there. So if I cut it here, I've now redirected this branch away from this branch. At least I hope so. The stub there. Very little taper here. But I'm going to cut it down to here because there are two buds right close to one another there. Now I'm within that 3-week period where you can prune a deciduous tree. It's still deciding where it's going to take all its nutrients, probably store them down into the tree. If you haven't seen Jason Hanrahan's video on how a tree gets itself ready for winter, you really ought to watch that one. I wish I could remember the name of it. But it's one of his most recent shorts. Okay, this branch I'm just going to take the tip off of. Clean up a pruning stub. Another one. Take the tip off of this. And the tip off of this. And that should do it on that branch. Oh, nope. Got this one right here. Pruning stub there. What do I want to do here? All right, I've got a bud there, so I'm going to assume this will branch out in this direction now, or at least change direction. Okay, I'm not taking much off of this tree. Do I like that? I think I'm going to shorten this even more. All right, now coming back to this part of this branch. Not sure what's going on here. I think I like it. So I pruned it here last time and it grew too. This is the perfect situation. This is what I wish would happen all over the tree. And this one's a little bit further down. Probably want it to come out in that direction. Prune it there, so I have a bud on the top and a bud on the bottom. These two, I'm going to take the very tip off of both of them, because there's a bud just behind it. This, I wish was going this way, and I can make it go that way by cutting it here. It's a little far up, but we'll see what happens. And I'm making some progress. I dremeled these when I pruned it over the summer. Probably could do a better job on that. They're rolling over nicely. I'll clean that up at some point, not now. Okay, done, done, done. Not done. This is the back. All right, I'm going to move to this branch here. Want it to grow this way and out. And there's an outward facing bud right there. This is a parallel to this, but I don't mind it. Maybe I do mind it. Yeah, it's right in front of that other branch. Now if I can just get this to subdivide. I've got two buds, one here and one here. So if I cut it just below this, I should have growth coming from one or both of these. So that branch is done. This branch, what's happening there? There isn't much happening on this branch. I'm wondering if it should come off altogether. It's a big branch. But there are three coming from basically the same spot here. I like that because it's helping heal this wound. But what's it doing for the tree? One of these should come off. And I think the tree is trying to shed this one because there's a ring developing right here. What would happen if I lost that branch? You know what? I am going to lose this branch. try and maintain that collar that's developed, but I'm going to lose the branch. Not the big one, but this straight one with no taper at all. And this is a really big cut in an area where there's already a lot of deadwood. Remember, I'm trying to maintain the collar that's developed there. Big cut. I can clean that up better. And when I Dremel this, I'll take care of that a little bit better. I'll get some cut paste on it though. I'm going to let this tree overwinter in the greenhouse. I overwintered it outdoors last year. I may still continue to do that. But protected. I'll bring it in early and let it come out of dormancy early. All right, do I like that better? Doesn't make much of a difference. I'm sure this will fill in. I've got these branches coming. So let's see what's left on that branch. I took care of this one. I'm just going to take this off. Well, maybe I'll take this whole thing off. I've got two places where branches can start developing right there, and that's fine. So, in terms of being even now, I got to look at this branch. This branch proceeds very nicely up the trunk. A little bit long and no taper here, but I've got a subdivision here, one here, one here. These all come out radially nice. I probably should get rid of this because it's a bar branch with the one next to it, and I have one right here. So let me get rid of that. Get rid of this stub. Get rid of this stub. Take, well, here's another stub. Take the tip off of this. Take the tip off of this. This. And this. And I'll look at this again when the buds are swelling just to make sure that I didn't cut anything that was dead. I don't think anything was dead. Here's a pruning stub. And another pruning stub. Take the tip off of that. I'm going to leave this one. That brings us to this branch. You know what? I like these two close internodes, but I think because there's interference there, I've got a branch here, a bud here that wants to develop. So I'm going to let that develop in this direction. And I'm going to take this one of the seed pods off, and I'm going to let it dry out, and I'll probably plant these seeds. All right, so I'm still on this branch. Got a stub right here. Those stubs in the crotch are a pain. I'm going to cut the tip off of this little guy right here. And I'm going to make this branch the apex, so I want this branch not to compete with it. I'll probably cut one of these off. This one most likely. Why don't I do that? At least cut a piece of it off. Maybe it'll grow more upward there. And this, right there. Remembering that the flowers grow on new growth, as you can see here. This beyond here grew since that flower developed. So my apex. Your eye does go toward the back of the tree here. If you follow this branch up, this one with those horrible wire scars, got a stub here. And I've got buds on either side of them. More like a dried up leaf stalk? I don't know. I'm not sure. But this one I'm going to cut to here. I don't have a good place to cut this, so I'm going to cut it here. This is the other seed pod. These grow very readily from seed. I get them growing in my lawn. And I think I've said it before, I really like the Rose of Sharon as a bonsai. I know I've heard people out there say, though, this is not supposed to be a bonsai. Well, I think it is. This one, I've got a bud there, a bud here real close. Cut the end off of this. Maybe get some really fine twigging happening right there. Cut the end off of this. I want to go back further with this one. I'm not sure about this. I'm going to leave it. But back here, I've got some close internodes, which is good. And headed toward the back of the tree. I'm going to cut this one here. Not much developed on that branch. So that's one of the ones I'll be watching in the spring to see if it is dead or not. Another pruning stub. We'll go back with this one. Go back there. I got this wild branch in the back now. Just going to shorten this. It's going in a very funny direction though. But in terms of the front of the tree, and if you look at it this way, it's all cranked over. But if you look from the front of the tree, it's not so bad. And I probably need it since I took that other branch away from here. I need that. I'm just going to shorten it. Shorten this. Get rid of this crotch growth here. Got two internodes very close here, so I can cut it back to there and feel safe about it. Leaving this branch here. Pruning stub. And take the tip off. And I believe this tree is all pruned up. This is confusing up here. And a pruning stub there. Pruning stub here. I said I was going to leave this. I'm not. I'm going to take the tip off of that. I'm going to go further back on this one. All right. Let me zoom back out and I'll do a little 360 of my Rose of Sharon. Getting a low battery warning, so this is going to be it for this filming session. Here's the front of the tree. Going around to the right-hand side. I'm sorry, the left-hand side. The back of the tree. Oh, that was the right-hand side. This is the left-hand side coming around. And back to the front. Somewhere there. I don't have it marked, and I like it that way. It's in a round pot, so I don't really care, but this is kind of what I had in mind for the front. Let's see what the tree gives us next spring. All right. Thank you very, very much for keeping me company in my backyard.